Hey, welcome to the conversation. This is Andy Mason, and you are listening to authentic conversations around the messy intersection of faith, family, and business. And today we've got a treat for you. For the last 30 days, Ray Edwards and myself have been doing 30 Days of Hope. It's a hope challenge around the content in my new book, Finding Hope in Crazy Times. And we've gone off topic, on topic, around topic, under topic, and just had a blast of a time. And what I've done is the call that we did recently, as in just last weekend, was around the topic stand up and fight. And it's just, you would have thought that I'd written it perfectly for today because of what's going on, what we're all facing, economic, health, pandemic, government restrictions, all these ups and downs. There's always something you can do. So there's a bunch of really, really cool quotes. There's so much in here that is really, really wonderful. So I encourage you to have a listen, enjoy it. Grab a copy of the book on Amazon, but enjoy this session.
So we've been on this journey, this 30 Days of Hope challenge. It's based on, started from Andy's book, which he and Janine wrote many, many months ago, and it's scheduled the publication for this time, having no idea how much this book would apply. It is mapped pretty much every day. It's 30 chapters. It's written as a devotional, daily stories of hearing God's voice, and then how do you practically apply that in your life? Yeah. So you're asking God, what's your word for me today? And then how do I make that come alive in my life today? Not as just a general feel good, but as this is what I'm doing today. And so we hope you'll get the book. It's on Amazon, Amazon.com.
Amazon.
And you can,
Amazon.
You can get the paperback or the ebook version, the Kindle version. And inside either version, you'll find instructions on how to get the audiobook for free. So it's a great deal. And then it'll serve you well over the next 30 days. As we are now up to chapter...
This is chapter 27.
Get up and fight.
I love this. Let me just read this because I just think this is so... Just guess when I wrote this. Like, try and tell me that I didn't write it today. The metaphor or image I have for my life right now is that of the U.S. Navy at Pearl Harbor in 1941. I'm in a fight for my life and that of my people. We just got bombed. It was meant to destroy us. We are not destroyed, but we are deeply hurting. There are dead and dying people around me. There are delays and miscommunication and blaming. There is a real conflict going on, and the casualties are real.
Wow.
Did I just describe now?
So perfectly. Again, perfectly mapped to every day we've been doing this. I'm really stunned. I mean, let's be clear, folks. There are books you can read that are written as devotionals or thoughts for the day that could apply to anybody's life. They're kind of like the horoscopes you read in the newspaper. They could you look at the Libra and you think, oh, it's perfectly describing me as a Libra. But if you read the others, you'd say the same thing about all of them. This is not that way.
No.
And yet, what you just read sounds like it was, as they used to say on a popular television show, ripped from the headlines.
Yeah. Like this, but I can't quit. This you, Ray, this is me too. Because it's not just us. Well, I guess that's the difference. We are all in this. We are all in this together, and we're all fighting a common challenge, a health challenge and an economic challenge. And the more I blame and focus on somebody else, the more I'm not going to get anything done. But this is, so I can't quit. I've too much invested with those I love. Anyway, where would I go? So where is God in all of this? How do I survive? How do I fight? How do I lead? Help. It sounds like, help, God. What now? And then just carries on to say, it's amazing how God sets us up with what we need when we most need it. Ray, just even if there's no other reason, they're launching this book so that I could talk to you every morning, and that centers me, that focuses me, that actually reminds me the power of accountability is massive, because I don't know about you, but I've just been processing this morning the human addiction to easy, our tendency just to choose the easier path. It's like we build lives based on how can I set myself up too easy or bury my head in the sand so I'm not having to face difficult. And this here forces us, accountability forces us to stay authentic, stay real, and actually deal with real stuff.
Yes. Sometimes facing difficult means doing less. That's a hard one too.
Yeah.
I'm in another accountability group, and one of the guys in that group has been enjoying a season of great favor. He's invited to so many things, so many meetings, so many joint ventures, so many partnerships, so many speaking engagements, conference calls. And he has been hustling and grinding. And he said something about, I want you guys to pray for me to have strength. And thank God the leader of this group had the integrity to say, you know what I'm feeling the Lord say to you right now is your task is to carefully guard your nose.
Yeah.
You're saying yes to everything, and you're burning out the vessel God needs to use to get the work done He created it for. So you've got to learn to start saying no and stop saying yes to everything and everybody.
Yeah. So good. I mean, that's what you said yesterday. Was that the Steve Jobs quote?
The Steve Jobs quote, yeah.
What was that? A great yes has to be
defended by a thousand no's.
1,000 no's. Every great yes must be defended by 1,000 no's. Oh man, that is me, Ray. I got to get better at my no.
Me too.
So what do we do? So if you guys are in that, how does that describe your life? It feels like you just got bombed. I guess, there are. I mean, I was on a call yesterday with, there's just a little bit shy of 50 Ukraine, Belarus, and Czech business leaders. And they're all faith and business centered people. And I just stood okay, give me your hands, show me your hands where, on a scale of 1 to 10, so fingers, do them either finger analogy, this is a Zoom call, so you can interact like this, very highly statistical representation of what's going on. And I said, on a scale of 1 to 10, where if 10 fingers would mean your business is 100% gone, 1 finger is 10% affected. Where are you at on the scale? And there's probably, there's a handful at completely destroyed, handful at only 10%, handful at nothing, no effect, and then a range all in between. And then I said, how many of you have actually, your business has moved ahead in the middle of this? And again, there's a bunch of people putting their hands up saying, so we have got such a spectrum from people completely destroyed through to on pause, through to, the numbers in the States alone, is it I might be putting it wrong. Is it 20 million? Between 13 and 20 million jobs that have just gone poof. People have applied for unemployment. It's like, our world just got bombed.
Yeah, the U.S. government opened up another, was it $250 billion or $300 billion in disaster loans through the Small Business Administration, and the moment they opened the doors, the servers crashed. And they stayed crashed for 3 to 4 days. The demand was so high, the system couldn't handle the demand.
Yeah.
So what we feared would happen to the medical system happened to the financial system.
Yeah. So we have a problem. So the point is, what are we going to do in it? And I can sit around and commiserate, and we can do that for a moment. But what am I going to do? And here, just the amazing thing is, I don't know about you, but there's days where I'm just like, I don't want to think about it. I just don't want to even think about my budget. Don't want to think about tomorrow, the next day. And I recognize how easy it is for me to distract myself with other activity so that I don't have to do my budget, so that I don't have to face the financial issues. It's just procrastinating, and it's actually not helping me or anyone. But it's amazing how God sets us up with what we need when we most need it. In the middle of, I was feeling like this, the fight of my life, I happened to listen to a message from Pastor Bill Johnson. It was exactly what I needed. I'd allowed the size of the problem to become bigger than God himself. As a result, I'd become passive and powerless. I needed to stand up again. What I heard and experienced in that message gave me the strength and direction to do just what was needed, to remember the promises and fight with what God had said. This is when we discover the true value of worship, daily scripture, praying in the Spirit, declaration, remembering what God has said. All of these daily disciplines set our focus on God and keep us aware of how much bigger he is than anything else that would seek to say otherwise. How important is this, Ray?
It's the most important thing. We've talked about not changing the subject, and the subject is another angle of looking at the subject is God is bigger than any problem. One of my dear friends got me this shirt that I wore today. I don't know if you can read it. It says, "Nope, not today, Satan. Not tomorrow, not the day after that, or the day after that. How about never?"
Yeah.
That's when I'm going to be impressed by the problem you put in front of me. How about never?
About never. So here, I'm wearing what I'm wearing. So check this out. So this right here is the New Zealand All Blacks World Cup from the one just before, the one they won. World Cup rugby competition. That All Blacks is like American football with no pads, no helmet. It's like, come on, let's just get down and just go for it. And I love Adidas. You'd say I say Adidas. What? That's one of those ones.
Adidas.
That's these guys. They say impossible is just a big word thrown around by small men who find it easier to accept the world. They've been, find it easier to give in to the problems around them than accept their challenge to change it. Impossible is just a big word thrown around by small men who find it easier to live in the world they've been given than explore the power they have to change it. Impossible is temporary. Impossible is temporary. Impossible is nothing. It's like, come on, I need to have that. Yes, there's a time to sit and comfort and grieve, and then there's a time to stand up and fight. And I think it's May. We've been around this long enough. It's time to stand up and fight and do something. Not do something to try and change someone else, but do something with what I'm doing right now. And Ray, I noticed something. What are you doing on Friday?
What am I doing on Friday? Oh, we're having
Friday,
a business turnaround class.
Yeah.
Free 2-hour class. I'm going to take the best teaching I have, teaching that we're going to take this video and sell it for hundreds of dollars as a product. But Friday, we're giving it away free. You just have to show up, and we're giving away money during the call. And there's two purposes for giving away the money during the call. One purpose is obvious to people, I think. It's to get people to stay on the call and participate.
Yeah.
The second purpose is more important. I'm going to be teaching the importance of circulating money, not holding on to it out of fear. But it does us no good if it doesn't circulate. The faster the money circulates, the wealthier everybody becomes. Even the guy who cleans your car. The faster when you start hoarding your money and deciding, I'm going to vacuum my own car, I'm going to wipe down my own car, you just cost the guy at the car wash his job.
Yeah.
So I'm teaching by example, and we're giving away $1,000, and this is a secret, so don't tell anybody. I'm going to give away another $1,000, $100 at a time during the call.
Yeah.
I'm going to reward people for getting the concept that we must circulate money.
So where is this? How do I find out about it?
It's I should have go to rayedwards.com.
Yeah.
And there'll be a link there for you.
It's 4 p.m. Eastern time, 1 p.m. Pacific time, Friday. If I know anything about you, Ray, the thing, and I just actually, Ray's written a a book. It's finally coming out after probably 2 years. I've seen it. I've seen this book for I'm sure it's been 2 years.
It's been
called
at
Permission
least
to
2
Prosper.
years. Yeah.
And, Ray, you've restored my confidence in marketing and copywriting because you're authentic. You're not trying to use your gift to manipulate me to buy something. You are genuinely helping people succeed and giving them the skills and the tools to do it in an authentic, just open-handed way. And I love that. So if you listen to this, you need to jump on that call on Friday. It will help you. There will be practical things. It's not one of those, it's free so that we can sell you something. It's actually free. And not only that, free, and we give you something. So it will be valuable.
It will be wall to wall, a checklist of here are the things to do to start bringing money back into your business. This is the month of May. So I look at it as a month of permission. You may prosper. Yeah. You may move forward. You may fire when ready, Gridley.
Yeah. And for those of us thinking like, how could God, which is, I guess, is a real question. How could God let this happen to us? Because that's, and here's the danger. Allowing us to think and ponder and meditate that on an ongoing basis only results in powerlessness and navel gazing. But here's this message that Bill talked that just threw me. So I was doing that. I was like, God, no, I've followed your voice. I've landed in another continent. I've poured my life out. Look how my family has paid a price, a sacrifice for revival, with the cost and sacrifices. God, where are you in this? And, is this what you do with your military? You send them out and then withdraw support. And you can see my mind just starts to get more and more toxic. Not that you would have ever done that, Ray, I'm sure.
Only every day.
Yeah. And then this just blew my mind. God only leads us through a conflict or challenge He knows we have the capacity to handle. Even more than that, God will strengthen us ahead of time and then set up opportunities to help us discover our authority, how much stronger that we are than our enemy. Check this out. Psalms 105. Israel came to Egypt, and Jacob dwelt in the land of Ham, which is Egypt. He increased his people greatly, and he made them stronger than their enemies. Then, check this out. Then he turned the enemy's hand to hate his people, to deal craftily. And skip forward. Then he brought them out with silver and gold. There was none feeble among his tribes. Egypt was glad when they departed, for the fear of the Israelites had fallen upon Egypt. What's the point? God strengthens us through opposition, challenge, difficulty. There is no way to get stronger. The gym is great, but the gym is not real. It's like training for a game of rugby. Train, but it's not till you get to the Saturday game. It's a whole nother level. Military training is very, very good, but it's not when you get into a real thing that this is suddenly, it's a different thing altogether. It's like, are these muscles real, or are they just like gym muscles? It's like, come on, come out the back. Let's actually cut down some trees, cut some firewood. Let's make it real. And I think that so much of us are addicted to easy and comfort and the easy route, and how can we make our life easier? God's like, no, it's not going to help you. It's not going to help you with eternity in mind or earth in mind. The only way to go stronger is actually to work with resistance. And we get stronger and stronger. And then literally this says that God then goes over to our enemy, slaps them around and says, hey, it was Ray's fault. Not that we get destroyed, but because He already knows we are stronger than we realize. We have more resiliency in us than we realize. Yeah. And the only way to do that is to get thrown into a fight that God knows we win, but we don't until we get through it.
Yeah. I used to, when people would ask me, how could God let this happen? I used to respond by saying, well, maybe what He's saying is, how could you let it happen? But there's something about that bothered me a little bit, because it felt a little bit like blaming, putting condemnation on us. And then I realized I think there's a deeper question, perhaps. What if God is asking us, when we ask, how could you let this happen? What if God was whispering to us saying, why can you not see what this makes possible?
Yeah.
Not saying that he sent the disaster. He didn't. He's not the author of evil. Not saying that he did it as a punishment for something we did or that we caused it. We didn't. And I don't think it matters. I think what matters is what do we do with what we have in our hands right now? And the question is, I think this is the Michael Hyatt question because he's the one I first heard say it. What does this make possible?
Yeah.
If you set aside all that other stuff and think, what does this make possible? It goes back to your story about the All Blacks and impossibility. And a friend of mine gave me a plaque with a quote from Walt Disney on it. And the quote says, it's kind of fun to do the impossible.
Yeah. Love that. I love that. Here's what it practically boils down to is that everybody can do something. And is what am I going to do? Am I going to wallow in pity and feel sorry for myself? Or am I going to start to do something? And anybody that has access to a computer can do your How to Pivot My Business webinar on Friday for free. Anybody can jump onto heavenandbusiness.com and access free content for 2 weeks. And there's so much in there, from beliefs to hearing God, to building culture, to building a strategic plan in your business with God, to influencing culture. It's just every aspect for free. There's no excuse. My wife and I just ordered a book. I think it's Richard Gott, 7 Principles to Make a Marriage Work. As in, it's really, really practical.
Such a good
we're
book.
going to get into this. Will Smith, the actor Will Smith, my wife was just telling me his wife just was on some social media saying, we just realized that, I'm stuck at home with Will. We don't even know each other. We've got this fabricated life around busy. I don't even know him. Now, that can go 2 ways. And she was saying it, I'm getting to know him. I'm discovering, and I'm committed to making this. This is beautiful, but you can choose. So I just, local guy, he's going to manage our brand new Chick-fil-A. His name's Ahab. He just posted, over this time, he's losing weight over shelter at home. He is intentionally taking this time to lose weight. I'm just like, just awesome.
Yes.
And inspired by that. So if you're watching this, what are you doing? What are some of the things that you're doing over this time to take this time to intentionally advance in the face of adversity? Because the ground that you make now is like a one-in-a-lifetime opportunity to move forward and advance. Like, get in the fight. What are you doing that's in the fight?
Now's the time when our characters are not tested. It's when we get to choose what the nature of our character is. We get to decide. And this used to bother me because I had problems that I thought were insurmountable and nobody understood. And I thought what every victim thinks.
Yeah, I mean, you've got a doctor's excuse.
I do. I really literally have a doctor's excuse. But I don't want the doctor's excuse. I don't want anybody's excuse. I want to know, what does this make possible? And what can I do with what I have? Somebody pointed out that God asked Moses, what's in your hand?
Yeah.
He didn't ask him because he was looking for information. He was making a point. Take what's in your hand and use it to do the job in front of you.
Yeah.
That's a good word for us right now.
That's so good. And you're going to have to use it in a way that's different from before. It's like you and I walking and processing. This has just been so brilliant, because one of the things that we processed together was that chapter and hearing God say, don't change the subject. And I'm like, that doesn't make sense. One of the subjects, one of the focuses have been our executive retreats. They've been probably the strongest product, call it a product, of what we do with Heaven and Business. And I can't do it. It's like, nope, not going to happen. International. I don't even know when the next one's going to happen from an international perspective. And that's been the greatest impact, hands down, in terms of lives changed. And God's saying, don't change the subject. I'm like, God, are you not aware there's a shelter in home? Are you not aware that Governor Newsom's closing the beaches but opening the prisons? Are you not aware that like this is all of this? It's like, don't change the subject. And then as we processed this, it was like, of course, don't change the subject, change the delivery. And it was suddenly, I have an open world to be able to do that same executive retreat, the ingredients of that in a different format virtually. The creative ideas that we got coming out of this and the way we're going to do it is like exciting. And suddenly from home, more time with my family, I've got a pivot in my business that's going to help us move forward. And actually, I mean, we're navigating that budget still, but it looks like this is going to work, Ray. This is going to, like, I've got more in me than I realized. I have to adjust. I have to develop. I have to grow. It's the opposite of comfortable.
Yes.
I've got to risk and try new things. But I think this is going to work.
Think of the people in history who were constrained in impossible ways, and that constraint in and of itself caused them to achieve things that were impossible for people who didn't have the constraint. Yep. Beethoven was deaf. Helen Keller was blind and mute.
Yeah.
Stephen Hawking couldn't move, couldn't write. He wrote a voluminous book by twitching a muscle on his cheek. And a computer picked up one letter at a time as he wrote this book that was over 1,000 pages long of the most brilliant work on astrophysics ever done by any human, but done by a man who couldn't move.
Yeah.
And who defied a disease that should have killed him when he was in his 30s and lived to be over 70 years old because he had great work to do.
Yeah.
Why should I come down there and die when I have a great work to do?
Yeah. So get up and fight. Get up and fight and recognize, just so people realize, we're not talking about fighting a physical battle. We're saying it's a mental and a spiritual battle of beliefs and owning me. Is that we don't fight against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, rulers of the darkness of this age, against spiritual hosts of wickedness in heavenly places. And one of the biggest occupation zones is right here, right about here. And it's just like my thinking and the beliefs and the lies. So what are we going to do about it? So Ray, I think today I'm going to get up, and I'm already up. This has been great. This is, my alarm goes every morning. There's no sleep-ins. There's no sleep-ins. Hope doesn't take the weekend off.
And doesn't sleep in.
Today, we're going to be, it's Saturday, so I am going to intentionally not work on my business work. I'm working on my home. So we have put in some irrigation, and I'm going to get a stump grinder and grind some stumps. And I'm going to, like, this is going to be fun. It's just this grinding down of the things that have been holding me back and stopping me from mowing smoothly. I'm going to get rid of that, level the pathway, build up a highway, make it into a spiritual act of I'm grinding down some of the barriers and challenges. I'm going to stand up and I'm going to. You got me. You think you can destroy me? Well, I know this machine that's going to take you on and just grind you down
to dust.
Yeah. Nope. Not today.
Not tomorrow. Not next week.
Not any day.
How about never?
So, what about you? Why don't you post? Are you watching this? What are you going to do today? Just to advance, to stand up and fight. Maybe do the thing that you've been avoiding doing. Maybe that's sitting down with your spouse and having a genuine, authentic conversation. Maybe that's tackling a project around your house that you've avoided doing. Maybe that's getting out and going for a run. Oh, I read that this morning. Do you know Sarah Hall? Ryan Hall is the fastest American-born marathon runner. 2 hours and 4 minutes or something for a marathon. Just ridiculous. He was here in Reading for a number of years. His wife, Sarah, is also an Olympic runner. And I just saw this post of hers today, just on Instagram, and just in the context of get up and fight. And they've battled injuries, they've battled so many things. And this photo of her just in the, you can see the pain on her face as she's pushing through and running. Here, I'm going to see if I can hold this up for you, Ray. Can you see that? Just the,
oh, yeah.
And then underneath, she says this. After big disappointments, fear tries to convince you to play it safe in life. Don't listen. Putting my heart on the line again, hoping and believing again, because there's no other way to live. Sarah Hall. So shout out to you, Sarah Hall. Thank you.
I got a new follow on Instagram now. I got to follow her. That's inspiring.
You sure do.
Impossible is just a word. Can you do that again? I think that feels like the way to tie a bow on this. That
Let
was
me
so
if I can find the proper one. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to look it up. It's just so good. I don't want to screw it up. And every now and then I start to read it and it gets messed up. I think this could have been written I think it's written in heaven's warrior zone. And it's been tied to Muhammad Ali, Adidas. I'm not even sure who originally came up with it, but it's this. Let me read this. Impossible is just a big word thrown around by small men who find it easier to live in the world they've been given than explore the power they have to change it. Impossible is not a fact, it's an opinion. Impossible is not a declaration, it's a dare. Impossible is potential. Impossible is temporary. Impossible is nothing. Hoo-yah. That was a word that I learned in the States. Hoo-yah.
Come on. I love it.
So join us tomorrow, 7 a.m. Ray and I will be continuing through this as this inspires us with what we're doing with our life to find practical hope in crazy times. Join Ray, jump onto rayedwards.com. Check out this. Literally, he will give you keys, clues, tips, tools to pivot your business, which we need to do. We need to all do. None of us can carry on business as usual. And the longer we delay making those decisions, having those conversations, the messier it's going to be. So actually be proactive. Get up and fight. And grab a copy of this, Finding Hope in Crazy Times. You can find that on Amazon.com. You get a free audiobook with the book. So it really is our intent to help you have zero excuses to gain practical hope in crazy times.
Because impossible is nothing.
Nothing. Nope. Not today. Not tomorrow. Not the day after that. Not the day after that. Not ever.